for what feels like forever, right? The king of the electric car world has been Tesla. Just unbeatable, unchallenged. Well, that all changed at the end of 2023. The crown was stolen. And this is the story of how a company you've probably never even heard of, BYD, quietly built an empire and became the new #1 EV seller on the entire planet.
And hey, this isn't some future prediction. This has already happened. Just look at these numbers for yourself. In just the last 3 months of 2023, BYD sold, get this, a staggering 526,000 electric vehicles. Tesla, they had a record quarter themselves, but they still only hit 484,500. For the first time, the king was officially dethroned.
So, the big question, right? How? How on earth did this company, and they literally call themselves the biggest car brand you've never heard of, how did they just pop out of nowhere and overtake the most famous EV maker in the entire world? Well, the answer? It starts somewhere you would never, ever expect.
Okay, so to really get how BYD pulled this off, we have to forget about cars for a second. We got to rewind the clock. See, their story doesn't start on some big car assembly line. Nope. It starts with something much, much smaller. It's a wild story, too. It's got a visionary founder, a super risky bet, and yeah, one of the most famous investors in history. So BYD, which, by the way, stands for Build Your Dreams, was founded way back in 1995. But they weren't building cars, not even close. They were making rechargeable batteries for all those old cell phones, you know, the Nokias and Motorola's, and they got really good at it. By 2002, they were the second biggest producer in the world. But then, in 2003, the founder, Wang Chuanfu, did something that made his investors think he'd completely lost his mind. He bought a failing car company. I mean, their stock price just tanked, but he saw something nobody else did.
Now, this crazy move, the auto industry pretty much ignored it. But it caught the eye of a true legend, Charlie Munger. He saw total genius in Wang Chuanfu. He actually compared him to a mix of Thomas Edison for his raw ingenuity and Jack Welch for his ability to just get things done. Munger famously turned to his partner Warren Buffett and said, "We have to buy BYD." And boy, was Munger right. Berkshire Hathaway's first investment was $232 million. By 2021, that had ballooned into an incredible $7.4 billion. That's a 3,000% gain. Think about that. This wasn't just a smart investment. It was a massive signal to the rest of the world that BYD was a serious force. But it wasn't just about the money.
Yeah, BYD's insane rise was no accident. It was built on this really deliberate, really powerful three-part strategy. And this strategy gives them a huge advantage over pretty much everyone else. So let's break down this winning formula.
All right, pillar number 1 is what's called radical vertical integration. So while other car companies are scrambling all over the world for parts, BYD just makes almost everything themselves. Take their flagship Seal model. They make 75% of the parts for that car in-house. And we're talking about the big stuff, the batteries, the electric motors, even the microchips. This gives them insane control over their costs, and, it totally saved their bacon during the global chip shortage.
And a perfect example of this advantage? Their in-house innovation called the Blade battery. It's safer, it's more stable, it doesn't use cobalt, and it's so good that BYD doesn't even keep it to themselves. They actually sell it to their competitors. And get this, there are reports that even Tesla is now a customer.
Okay, pillar number 2, aggressive pricing. I mean, super aggressive. Because they control their own supply chain, they can compete on price in a way that others just can't touch. Check out their BYD Seagull. It starts at around $10,000 and it's got a decent range. Now compare that to Tesla's affordable Model 3, which starts at $35,000. I mean, in markets where every dollar counts, that difference is absolutely everything.
And that brings us to the third pillar, and you could argue this is the most crucial one of all, immense government support. We're talking huge. From 2009 to 2022, the Chinese government pumped a staggering 30 times billion in tax exemptions into its EV industry, and there are billions more on the way. This just completely supercharged the market in China and gave companies like BYD this massive tailwind to push them forward.
Okay, so let's recap. They're cheap, they're everywhere, and they've got some seriously powerful backing. But I know what you're probably thinking. A $10,000 electric car? Seriously? Are the wheels gonna fall off? So yeah, let's get real and talk about the quality.
All right, let's be totally honest here. BYD's early cars were not pretty. I mean, the word hideous was thrown around. And, well, it wasn't wrong. But in the last few years, the company has made a huge pivot. They've dropped the gimmicks and are now laser-focused on the stuff that actually matters to you when you're driving.
solid build quality, top-tier safety ratings, and real-world efficiency.
Well, let's look at the BYD seal. This is their direct shot at the Tesla Model 3. And you know what? The reviews are genuinely impressive. It's quick, it's stylish, it's a comfortable ride. The value is just incredible. But it's not perfect. Nobody is. Critics point out that you have to use the touchscreen for way too many basic functions, some of the safety assists are a little overeager, and the warranty terms can be kind of confusing. So, yeah, it's a real contender, for sure, but there's definitely still room to improve.
So, there's no doubt BYD is an absolute giant, but its path to total global domination, well, that's not exactly a sure thing. There are some pretty significant speed bumps on the road ahead, everything from nervous investors to major political and trade roadblocks.
Really, 3 big challenges stand in their way. First up, the guy who helped put them on the map, Warren Buffett, he's been selling off his stake. His company has sold more than 60% of its shares since 2022. We don't know exactly why, but it's not a great look. Second, the European Union is now taking a hard look at all those massive government subsidies we talked about, and that could lead to new tariffs to protect their own car companies. And finally, the big one, the United States. You just can't buy a BYD passenger car there. Why? Trade barriers. And these are barriers that even Elon Musk himself has said are pretty much the only thing stopping companies like BYD from completely demolishing the competition.
So, there you have it. That's the playbook. Through a combination of making everything themselves, ruthless pricing, and massive government support, BYD has completely reshaped the entire auto industry. The debate is over. They are a major, permanent player. The only real question left is a personal one for you. When you look at the whole picture, the incredible value, the technology, and yeah, the controversy, would you ever actually buy one?